John!
What?
Red 7!
I don't know what Red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route? Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Down!
Come on.
Ready! Down! Set! Hut! 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 Hut!
Hit me! Booyah! That's what we call a sack lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
It's time for the Soonerscoop.com postgame show presented by Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Eskridge Lexus is the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcasts. Now, here's your road crew, Carey, Eddie, and Bob, wrapping up all the action and reaction from this week's game.
Welcome, everybody. It is the unofficial 40 here at Soonerscoop.com podcast, and we are here after the Sooners. It's a Saturday night. We're doing the pod late. It's about 1 a.m. The Sooners finish off Army, and I say finish off in overtime, 28-21, joined by Eddie and Bob, who are both at the game with me as well. And, guys, it was interesting to say this. It reminded me probably... Last time I was at a game that I think was that odd was definitely the 2005 Baylor game that went into overtime when Rhett Bomar was the quarterback. I think they won that one like 37-30, maybe in double or triple overtime. I can't remember. But what you take away from tonight is that the defense was on the field forever, and the offense only ran 40 plays.
Army just picked up another 3rd and 1. Unbelievable.
Holy crap. Well, they were 4 of 4 on 4th down until the final play of the game. And that's the Sooners finally clamped down. It was 4th and 12. Parnell Motley gets an interception. My God, what just it was nice from a work perspective because it was a very fast game.
We were cruising. It was cruising in the first half. It was like I thought that they were going to play the first half in an hour.
If Austin Seibert had kicked that field goal,
8:58.
If no overtime, when it ended,
so less than 3 hours.
It would have been less than 3 hours. 8:58 is when that game would have ended.
Well, the good news is nobody saw it because it was on pay-per-view. But
boy, the bitching from the national media.
Oh, the uproar! The uproar! Yeah.
Oh yeah.
During the fourth quarter.
I saw Big Cat say something.
Big Cat said
crazy.
something. I mean, I saw Stuart Mandel saying something.
There's a whole
Stuart
bunch.
Mandel, don't be poor. Order the game. Well,
he can afford it.
Where do you start? I mean, it was. Defensively, it was awful.
It was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch. It was awful. I don't know where you begin. There were points where I was just like, how do you stop this? Like, I honestly, like, how do you stop this? Is there
something you can do, Mike Stoops or Bob Diaco?
I don't know. I was just at a loss for words at times because it was a situation that even when they would get them behind the chains in 1st or 2nd down, they'd pick up 6 or 7 yards on 3rd down, and then all of a sudden it's 4th and 2
rush today. Which if you average 4.3 yards a rush and you rush 78 times,
you're gonna get a lot.
You're gonna have a day like today where you have 45 minutes of possession and the other team has 15.
I mean, they averaged 40, but you thought, oh, there's no way they can keep that up. 45. It was something to see. It got to the point in the fourth quarter when they take over with 12 minutes. All of us in the press box realistically thinking they're going to run out the rest of the game and kick a game-winning field goal.
Here's Mike Stoops after it was over.
It's hard. It's frustrating, but, I'm proud of the guys. They got the stops when we needed them. I mean, we needed them down the stretch, and we got them again. So, everybody's going to, have their own opinions. I don't know. We got to continue to progress. It's hard to tell in this game, but, again, we won again, and, we're moving on, and you could be a lot of other places didn't play nearly that good and lost. Is that not right? I mean, so you can look at it however you want. I'm not going there. You guys will go there. We got to play better. We will play better. I love this team. These guys we're courageous too. So again, I couldn't be more proud of these guys to fight through this. What you take from this, we'll learn in preparation down the road. What this game will help you in 2 years. I don't know what the schedule is. You got to look at it and learn from it. But just happy that we were able to pull it off here at the end and come up with the stops when we needed them.
Is that like kind of a middle finger?
Yes, that's about as defensive as you can possibly get.
All right, I'll say it.
Go ahead.
Say it.
That's just bullshit. It's bullshit.
Well, he's saying that he understands
they got the
people are
ball,
gonna...
ran down their throat tonight.
Yeah.
And
Hold on, I've got to hit the marks.
Like I don't understand. Was the defensive line, because it's hard to tell down there, and especially with the offense.
I paid $40 just to have this game on DVR so I could watch it again.
Were they getting drove off the ball?
No,
Was it alignment?
They didn't set the edge. They didn't set the edge.
They didn't set the edge.
Where's the damn?
I talked about that. Ryan Jones had a terrible
night for Ryan Jones.
You'll notice the big play, Eddie, and it might have been. It's hard for you because you're down on the field and you can't really see the spacing like you can up at the press box. But the biggest play tonight for them was the quarterback keeper option.
Yeah.
Yes,
because
it was.
they would set the edge and they would basically have a 2-on-1 out there because Ryan Jones had gotten creased on the inside.
It was, I don't know. Luckily, you're not going to see that offense again. It was a weird entire week just as far as preparing for something like that. But the fans out there are going to say
87 plays to 40. I can't.
It's
I watched it, and it's hard to comprehend that Oklahoma ran 40 freaking plays tonight.
The 40 plays, including overtime, were the third fewest plays in recorded history since 1937, when the NCAA began keeping stats, and the fewest
for a team or OU?
For OU,
okay.
And the fewest by an OU team since 1960. In 1941, Oklahoma ran 34 plays in a win over Santa Clara. In 1960, OU ran 38 plays in a loss to Colorado.
Here's Kyler Murray.
When they're just, when they did a good job on offense. I don't know how you prepare for, something like that as far as, it's almost like it's not really football. They're just fullback dive, option right, option left. It's tough. But, when you're sitting there and they're driving the whole length of the field and, they've taken off 10 minutes and you're just sitting there over there waiting to get the ball back, it's definitely tough.
See, Kyler Murray is that guy that Barry Switzer would have recruited. He would have been the top option quarterback in the country when he was in high school, and now he sees this offense as just a dinosaur. Like he said, it's not even football. That is not. He doesn't
not even
recognize
football.
that.
Almost beat your team tonight, bud.
Did you see what Switzer tweeted tonight?
Oh, I bet
I didn't.
I bet he was rubbing it out the entire game to that option.
No, I guess I did.
It was
He
perfection.
loved it. Yeah, he loved it. He said this will be the closest game OU plays because they're going to run the table.
Football boner. I'm just never comfortable with the football boner.
It was perfection offensively for Army and what they did. That was the game plan. That was, if you would have told Jeff Monken that's what they were going to do, I figured he probably would have taken it and they would have won the game.
And you never thought OU would have allowed that to happen. That's the problem.
But see, that's the thing. Like that's what Switzer did. Like he ran that offense with great athletes to where what was it? Spencer Davis put out that tweet about 78 run plays, nothing more than 15 yards. Like Barry Switzer, his fullbacks were so good that Rodney Anderson, Lydell Carr, they would break that play for 80 yards. Arkansas did the same thing with Barry Foster. Those option teams, they did that with athletes. And when they got around that edge and it was 2-on-1 like that, Jamel Holloway was not being stopped. Charles Thompson was not being stopped. Darian Hagan was not. Tommy Frazier. Go on and on and on. Like, that is ghosts of football's past. And they're ghosts because, like Kyler Murray said, it didn't even seem like football to him. He doesn't recognize that as football. That was never any kind of football that he played growing up because he played high-class football in Texas. You don't see triple option in 6A in Texas.
I don't know. I'm at a loss for words how poor that defense was tonight. And they didn't miss tackles. I'm
waiting for Pro Football Focus to come out. It has not come out yet. I'm really curious to see because other than the one play where the entire defense seemed to converge on the quarterback and hit him at the same time, and not one person put their arms out to wrap up, and the guy just let everyone bounce off of everybody, and he just stood there, and then he just ran for a first down.
I don't know. I know the fans out there, they want us to sit here and say Mike Stoops should be fired and they should burn him at the stake, which, okay, they could have pitched a shutout, and there would be people that would find reasons to bitch and moan about how they played. But I
can understand why a fan would be frustrated. And why
they almost gave up 400 yards on the ground to Army.
Yeah.
They almost got beat at home by Army.
Yeah.
They should have got beaten at home by Army.
I mean, they almost getting beat at home is bad. That's the bad. I mean, not getting off the field, giving up 45 minutes of possession, that's the problem with the defense.
And what's weird,
it's the defense's fault.
Because they didn't miss a lot of tackles. What they did is they got dragged 2 or 3 yards with almost every single stop. That's what you look at Kenneth Murray, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about this with the 28 tackles, but how many of them were hard hitting where they stopped the guy in his tracks, and how many were when he was kind of being dragged on for a couple more yards?
This is a difficult thing to do.
Player of the game?
On this post-game podcast. But we have things to get to.
You know what's psychotic?
We have a schedule.
You know what's psychotic? Curtis Bolton and Kenneth Murray combined for 51 tackles tonight. I didn't think they played all that well.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Kenneth Murray set the school record for tackles with 28. I didn't think he played that well.
Brian Bosworth playing against Miami in 1985, where he's just all over the field and an animal.
No, he just happened to be there because they were getting 3-4 yards.
Everything was being funneled to him.
51 tackles, 1.5 tackles for
shitting
loss.
On potential player of the game.
Well, that was going to be your candidate?
We got to do this.
Eskridge Lexus is all about embracing the best. That's why they are the official travel partner of the Soonerscoop.com podcasts. So it's time for us to recognize the Sooners' best with our Eskridge Lexus Player of the Game.
All right, so I take it by the tone from you two that Kenneth Murray is not eligible even after...
Oh, Kenneth Murray is the player of the game. He set a school record. You set a school record on this podcast.
He crushed a school record.
You're the player of the game.
No. I'm going Kenneth Mann.
Kenneth Mann. He had an interception because the ball fell into his lap.
And he had the quarterback hurry on the fourth down play. He had the two biggest defensive plays of the entire game.
You set a school record, you get player of the game. I don't care. I mean, that was maybe one of the better linebacker performances that OU has ever had. Is that crazy? And I still don't think he played that well.
Then it's not.
So I'm saying it out of two sides of my mouth.
Yeah, he didn't. Exactly.
Do we even really recognize what it's like for a guy to play that type of football, though, anymore on defense?
I mean,
to have 28 tackles in a game.
Insane for a guy that didn't have any tackles the first week of the season.
Everybody is losing their mind over this. I don't think people grasp what they saw tonight. I really don't. I think they were just so frustrated.
It's like I told you before we started.
Okay, it's 1st and 10. It's 2nd and 6. It's 3rd and 3. It's 1st and 10. I mean, it's like it just kept going and going and going until you lost your mind.
You're a fan or a friend of the coaches if you even throw out the idea that maybe Army just played really, really well tonight.
They did what they did. They did what Army did, and OU didn't do anything.
And they couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop it.
OU didn't do anything to impose their will on defense.
And that was the thing.
And that's accurate.
That was the thing. And in a couple text groups I'm in the first half, I was telling all these guys that they're idiots because they wanted OU to be more aggressive defensively. Was it just a matter of...
You can't blitz your way into a triple option?
But they didn't blitz in the second half, and they somehow found out ways to get stops. You have to get these guys behind the sticks on first down. I don't know. It got to the point, though, where it was one of those things that if the option is this good, why don't more teams run it? Like, why do teams stop it? And
because
Bob, you said that Duke came up with 3 turnovers in the first half and got a lead, and then all of a sudden,
right? I'll tell you why more people don't run it. It's an easy answer. It's because Kyler Murray is the guy that you want to run it, but he's not going to come to your school to run the triple option anymore. Quarterbacks that can run it, that are superior athletes, are also really good throwers now because they work on that shit.
Right.
So the Jamel Holloways, the Darian Hagens, the Tommy Frasers, they don't exist as recruits anymore. And even if they do, they're defensive backs or slot receivers. They're somebody else. There aren't quarterbacks like there used to be in the 80s anymore.
I mean, Army plays a shit schedule, so they're probably going to, I would think...
Where does Georgia Tech get their quarterbacks? They move them from other positions.
Yeah.
Or they get some guy that's a dual threat athlete that's a 2-star. You're not doing that at a place like Oklahoma.
I just didn't
You're not
walk
doing that at Texas.
I didn't walk out of there though tonight thinking that Army's a good football team.
Right.
Is that
they're
messed
a
up?
scrappy team that just
they're
came in and
they're a
played
white
their
receiver.
asses off.
They're a white receiver.
Dude, their quarterback was black though.
I can't confirm that. I can't confirm
You
that.
doubted me.
I can't confirm.
Okay, so
He's a brother.
You got Murray. I got Mann. Carey, tiebreaker.
God. I mean, it's really hard for me.
Just go Murray.
I'm just trying to think of somebody else.
You know you want to.
Carson Meyer.
Oh, nice.
He did get in the end zone. You know what's really screwed up is the fact that
I'm gonna say Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon is my player of the game. He finally led the team in rushing.
How did he not get in the end zone? 3rd and goal to 1, 4th and goal to 1.
Blocked for him.
Well, that's something that if you want to really take something out of this game, I think OU has offensive line problems right now.
I can't agree with that. They had 40 plays.
I just can't look at the way that they played tonight and say that everything was good.
I'm not going to grade this offense.
Was a bullshit performance.
I'm not grading this offense.
They were a 30-point favorite today.
Based off 40 plays. I'm not. It's over. The game is over. Throw away the tape about the offense.
I mean, that's fair. Then let's talk about the defense more and
Fine.
the
Kenneth
bullshit
Murray
that they
is my
threw out.
goddamn
Kenneth
player of the game,
Murray,
all right?
congratulations.
Make you happy? He's our Eskridge Lexus player of the game.
You can say it in a happier tone.
I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not sitting here saying that, they need to fire anybody or that everything is gravy either. But at the same time, I don't think it's just one of those nights. Like, I think that there were things tonight that should make you concerned moving forward with the defense.
They have to get better. I don't think anybody. Mike Stoops said they have to get better.
But this is the same shit that we've sat here and said for the last 4 or 5 years. I mean,
they gave up 82 yards rushing to David Montgomery. They gave up all those rushing yards tonight, but they didn't give a play over 15 yards.
Then every team, every team out there,
Sony Michel against Georgia. It's not great, but it's not Sony Michel against Georgia.
Then every team out there should run the option against OU. They should scrap their offense and run the option if it was that successful.
Well, it felt like 2014 versus Baylor with the short passing game. This was the running version of it. You didn't give up the big plays, but you didn't do anything at all to stop every little play.
I just don't know where I mean, Bob, can you ever remember a time that you sat at an OU game and they gave up? Let me find it real quick. You give up 2 16-yard drives and a 19-yard drive or an 18-yard drive.
Play.
Or that's what I mean. Yes, 2 16-play drives and a 19-play drive to score. I mean, 9 minutes and 31 seconds, 8 minutes and 54 seconds, 10 minutes and 47 seconds to tie it up in the third quarter.
It was comical. It was at a point where they touched the ball. You're like, when will OU see it again? Will the quarter be over the next time the Sooners take the field?
It's going to be interesting to see where they go from here, just as far as a defense as a whole, because you walked out of Ames, and what was the first thing that Lincoln Riley said? He thought that the defensive line played really well. I didn't feel like they played that well tonight. I mean, it's hard when you're getting cut the entire game, but at the same time, there were plays where Amani Bledsoe would get a little bit of pressure, and they would get him behind the sticks. I'm turning into this person that I don't think that Khalil Hofton should be playing. And I don't know what that says about Robert Barnes, because if he can't get on the field ahead of Hofton, I mean, what are they going to do? And you're going to see this time and time again here through the conference play, and the fact that, I mean, teams are going to take advantage of OU, I feel like, in some places. And, Parnell Motley comes up with the interception at the end of the game, but this has been a growing problem over the last, really since Mike got back, and even maybe further back with Venables. OU cannot force turnovers.
They can't force any turnovers, and what I'm wondering about is we asked Lincoln, we asked Mike, and they weren't worried about their guys being worn down. But then we saw Amani Bledsoe, Neville Gallimore, Curtis Bolton, Kenneth Mann walk into the media room looking like they could barely walk, limping, banged up. Do these guys have any lingering effects heading into this week? Because they didn't sub as much as I thought they would. I thought they would try to keep guys more fresh, and maybe it's because if your top dog can't stop them, you don't trust that your backups can do that too. But those guys played, I mean, the plays wasn't the big deal, and we've talked about that. It was the physicality of every single play. It wasn't like playing against a Texas Tech. I don't know.
They got hit in the mouth repeatedly.
I don't know how Curtis Bolton and Kenneth Murray are going to be able to walk tomorrow, or if they're even going to practice this upcoming week. We heard a lot about Kenneth Murray didn't practice the majority of last season. A game like this, that explains why that might be the case here for this week that's coming up.
I went and got our pizza.
Pizza's here.
By the way, the pizza's from Pickleman's. Which I think people people that don't live in Norman, like that's some joke still. Like, oh, Pickleman's. Like, Pickleman's is still standing. It's like fine. It's like Joe Mixon didn't tear it down.
People burned it down or tried to. Maybe.
Idiots.
I don't know, Carey. Watching that tonight I thought it was pathetic at times, to be honest, to be completely honest.
It wasn't good. It's not. I understand if you're unhappy. That doesn't mean that I'm going to deal with.
Have you ever been to an OU game where teams go on two 16-play drives and a 19-play drive? Like, there were points where when OU gets stuffed in the fourth quarter, when OU gets stuffed in the fourth quarter, if you would have put a gun to my head or asked me to bet one side or the other,
is Army.
I would have taken Army.
Look, I think for all the stuff that happened in the first half to happen. Like, I think you could live with it if you came out of halftime and then you saw fixes, which you came out of halftime, it looked like they had it fixed, and then I think they went on the 19-play drive, didn't they, after that? That was like the 10-minute drive.
Well, because they got a stop at the end of the first half, and then they got a stop to begin the second half, but then Kyler threw the pick, and then everything kind of turned.
The pick was bad. I couldn't tell. Did somebody cut off the route, or did he just throw it out there?
He just threw it up for grabs, and it was underthrown.
And you never know what's going to happen there if OU goes down and scores, and all of a sudden it's a
well. That's what Kyler said. He said he was trying to distance them.
Yeah.
Because look, you go back to that Duke.
That kind of tells me though that they don't have any confidence in their defense.
No, what it tells you. Here's what it is. You go back to that Duke game. They got 2 early turnovers, and it forced Army to become a different team.
Oh, they're a different team when they have to chase. There's no doubt about that.
So
it was 17-0.
They were hoping to get it up. They were hoping to get it up by 2 scores, and then you make them do things get them off schedule. You make them throw on first down.
Yeah.
If you get a 1st and 8. They're more likely to throw on 2nd down and then be incomplete. Then it's 3rd and 8. But what they were able to do is just stay on schedule. I mean, just 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2.
It never
first down.
It never became a 2-score game. It was always 7-0, 14-7, 21-14. They never got the separation. It was 17-0 Duke, and that's why that game looked the way it looked.
So officially, our player of the game is Kenneth Murray. Our Eskridge Lexus player of the game is Kenneth Murray.
Sorry, Bob.
Are we on a consensus there?
That's fine with me.
That's fine.
We want to tell you guys because Ed Eskridge hooked us up. We went to see Marcus Hicks this week.
How nice was that car?
With the brand new 2019 ES. I think it was called the Ultra Luxury Package. We made Eddie sit in the back seat, which I thought it would be like, you made me sit in the back seat, but you said the back seat was like the most luxurious event of your life.
The
armrest.
Most comfortable armrest I've ever put my elbow on.
Did it have like a TV in it or something?
No, but it was to watch the.
Did you have your own USB ports in the back?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
2 USB ports, and it was perfect. I just sat back there and was watching the Cleveland game as Baker Mayfield, who made an appearance in Norman today, won
his first game.
Unbelievable comeback that was. I'm sure that we'll talk about it on the unofficial 40 this week.
I'll be honest. While you guys were working your asses off down there in the end zone, doing video and audio, I was kind of just chilling, talking to Kelvin Hicks, watching Baker Mayfield on the Yahoo Sports app. But then, like, this is, like, Eddie and I, this is our thing. When we go on road trips, like, we kind of figured out, okay, we're not going to like the same music. We don't, we can find some common ground. Like, we listened to some Maroon 5 on the way. I think all of us enjoy some Maroon 5. But, like, what we do is we watch sporting events if they're on. So we took my phone.
The MLB playoffs.
Like the Cubs. Yeah, when we went to go see that rat bastard.
Good win today.
In Nashville.
Indeed.
But no, we sat in the car and we plugged in the Bluetooth and we listened to the Cleveland game. You guys got to watch it. I kind of had to, like, I had to keep my eyes on the road, but that car almost drives itself. So I don't want to.
Those lights are ridiculous.
Those lights are incredible.
It's the most ridiculous car. Like, okay, so here's what I loved about that car. And by the way, EskridgeLexus.com, Ed Eskridge, he is a big fan of the podcast. I know he does some other sports stuff around, and he's also a subscriber to the site. But they've got a few 2018 models remaining if you want to go in there. My suggestion is go get this damn ES from 2019. He's got a special sale price for all Sooner Scoop listeners and subscribers on not only 2018s, but 2019s through the football season. So if any of you ever thought about buying a new Lexus for you or your spouse, it's a great time now. Eskridge will make this the easiest car buying experience of your life, and you can trust you'll get an awesome deal with the Sooner Scoop Special. Just go in and say, hey, Ed told me I could have the Sooner Scoop Special. That means that you don't pay any dock fees, any other BS that they tack on to the end of the deal, and you'll get a good deal on the car. And this thing...
I was able to freeze myself, which I love.
My God, I
loved
it. Low for 3 hours.
For 6 hours.
And then I showed him he didn't know this. Eddie knows this because he's been in my IS before. He didn't know that it had the seat air conditioner.
I did that at full blast.
And then that was...
You get a little cool air going up your ass. It's not a bad ride.
He's a little igloo over there in the corner.
I get my motion sickness is terrible.
Keep it at like 72.
You did. I was like, I'm at as low as possible.
So, but that car...
I like it when my tits get hard in a car.
Okay. This is why Ed didn't, this is why we had a talk before they sponsored the podcast. So, yeah.
I'm just talking about being cold.
So, it was fantastic drive. It's 44 miles a gallon. We didn't have to fill up the tank at all. I did it just because I felt bad because he gave us a nice car. And anyway. And Eddie was in it the whole time, so... It's not me. Corey Davidson
smoked in the car.
Corey Davidson said that he could tell you smell like beer just by looking at your shoulder when we were in Ames. So
that's the Cobra for you.
You have a reputation. All right. So moving on.
Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad.
Not only do we have, I think the play of the game is easier for us to determine. Am I wrong?
Sure. No, I think you're right. I think I know which direction we're all going to go. Maybe.
Right. This is where man shows up.
I thought you were in radio. Why are you ruining segments, Bob? You're supposed to be in radio now.
The game is over. The stats are in. Now it's time to grab a Coop Ale Works beer and raise a glass to our play of the game.
All right, it is the Coop Ale Works play of the game. Eddie and I tonight... A lot of people, man, you guys out there, you've been tweeting at us your enjoyment of Coop on game days and your tailgating. We've been retweeting those through the Scoop account, so feel free to tag us, tag Coop Aleworks. Go follow them on Twitter as well. But I had a couple people that tweeted at us the Saturday Siren. It's their dry hopped Pilsner, inspired by weekly siren tests, which we all know well here in Oklahoma. Saturday Siren is a crisp and refreshing Pilsner built for sunny days. And I can tell you, after partaking in it tonight, that it absolutely is.
It's very good.
I don't know how it will taste with this pizza because the pizza's just sitting there doing nothing. Bob, since you tried to ruin the segment, you should probably have to go get us plates. I'm just saying. So the play of the game... Well, there's only one to choose from, isn't there?
Kenneth Mann interception.
You already crapped all over him for doing nothing.
Exactly. That's why I kind of.
Do you want to give it to Dylan then?
Because
no. I mean, if you want to give it to anybody, give it to the Army quarterback who threw the ball into Faamato's whatever you say, threw it into his face mask. I mean, that was a terrible decision, but
we had pressure. I think Mark Jackson was pressuring.
Listen,
Jackson's coming
if you would have asked me before the play happened if I thought OU was going to win the game, I would have said no. But that was.
We all felt it. Like, okay, this team, like, we hadn't seen their field goal kicker all day, so who knows if they really had anybody that could come in and make it.
Yeah.
But everyone had that feeling, like, even if they don't score a touchdown, they're going to be so close. They're going to be able to bring some soccer kid in.
Shoot it with a cannon. Just bring a tank out and shoot a cannon.
Did you see all those cannons around the stadium?
Those were awesome. I could have stayed and looked at those all day. You feel like what?
I felt like it was Afghanistan walking up.
Except for it was America.
I've never been there, though, so I can't say
it was American might. The tank, I saw that. The missiles, that was the cool. I felt like it was life-size G.I. Joe.
Oh, people don't want to hear this part, but from just a atmosphere from the game to the pregame to the postgame, it was awesome. I thought it was very cool.
It was definitely worth the $70 or whatever you paid to not be a poor.
Okay, so the play of the game was the parachuters coming in.
Ooh.
You don't get much more American than parachuting into a stadium
awesome.
with a game ball.
I was so pissed off because they screwed up the media entrance. So I had to wait. I had to actually watch the parachuters on TV.
I got good Scoop HD. I'll throw it up on the board later.
It was really cool.
The first and the last dudes both hit the 50-yard line, I noticed.
Yeah.
Yes, and then the other ones were
Some
a little
guys
bit off.
kind of hard.
It kind of looked like they had to. Well, it kind of looked like they had to maybe jump lower because of the cloud cover.
I bet that's right. Yeah.
It looked like because I've seen that they've had that before at OU games and maybe
and
even on the road. And
they
usually
fly in at a severe angle.
Usually they are like way up there.
Yes,
it takes like 3 or 4 minutes for them to come down.
Yes.
This one was more.
Yeah, and I think
lower.
they were. As I was walking in, I could tell they were doing test flights. I think maybe a C-130 or something like that is what they jumped out of. I'm not sure, but it looked like they were doing test flights to see how close they could get before they jump. So, but yeah, that was. I'm telling you, also, and I've seen it before, but I don't know why. But the 85-yard flag is amazing.
Yeah, the thing was huge.
It's so awesome, and the fact that they had all service personnel around it was really cool.
It was very cool.
I was Team America today.
That's the first time they brought that out since I think the Buckeyes. Maybe.
By the way, I think they're so sappy and stupid, but the fact that the sergeant was a woman that met her family.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
And that they were just bawling on the. I barely held it in.
I'm pretty sure Oklahoma
Even
State does
talking
that
about
at every game, and it never gets old.
Even
Very
talking
cool.
about it, I'm getting emotional.
It's very cool stuff. But that still doesn't make up for the bullshit that was out there today.
That's still not the play of the game.
And I don't. I mean.
By the way,
play of the game is Kenneth Mann.
So the play of the game, Coop Works play of the game. By the way, I want to mention to you guys, Coop Works. They have been in Oklahoma City brewing their beers for 9 years. They're a 9-year-old craft brewery. They've got 7 year-round beers and 4 seasonals. As I said, we're having the Saturday Siren Pilsner today. Make sure to stock up your tailgate with some of the Coop's F5 IPA or Horny Toad Blonde before the game this weekend. Went to another liquor store, Norman, the Cellar. They've got the 12-packs over there, too, both the Horny Toad and the F5 IPA. So make sure you go stock up Coop Ale Works. And I'll say this, like everybody that tweets us or tries it for the first time, it's eye-opening. Like how good the beer is, how fresh it is. It is definitely worth going out and getting yourself a 6-pack. Horny Toad Blonde, if you want to just have a starter, start right there. Native Amber, start right there. Even the Oktoberfest, you can start right there. It's out now. Then you can graduate to the F5 IPA, the Spare Rib, the DNR, all that good stuff. So, anyway, the Kenneth Mann interception was the play of the game, yet it also led to almost the heartbreak of the game because they got down close to the goal line. Kyler Murray took the snap, ran to the middle of the field, downed it to make for the easiest possible 32-yard field goal possible for Austin Seibert, and he yanks that baby. I don't know what
That's bad.
I don't know what Pat McAfee's going to say about
It almost missed the
It was
screen.
not for the brand, I can tell you that.
It was not.
I mean, I was standing right underneath the goalpost, and it wasn't even remotely close.
It almost cleared the screen. It was that far left.
Well, and you thought, oh God, this is it. Like they're never going to recover from this in overtime. And here was Kyler Murray talking about what life was like basically after that miss.
We could have hung our heads, and that would have affected us. And at that moment, you can't do that. We stayed in it, stayed locked in. Coach Riley called us all up, and we like I said, we've worked that situation many times, and I think it showed. So getting the win, really proud of the guys. It was a good win.
I think the thing that pisses off fans the most is that you don't see these coaches, you don't see these players, and I've been scrolling the boards a little bit, even with after putting up the Lincoln Riley stuff. There's this idea that instead of being happy that they won, fans want these coaches or these players to come in and just not necessarily badmouth each other, but they want Lincoln Riley to come up to the podium and say, "Yeah, our defense was terrible tonight. We got to get a defense coordinator in here that can figure out how to stop these offenses," when in reality, that's just never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And they want these players to come in and be pissed off just as much as they are at their tailgate or at their postgame party or wherever they are.
You know what I think it is? I think people want to see...
They're spoiled?
No, people want to see college football coaches act like Little League coaches. I think people watch too much Friday Night Tykes.
You had Nick Saban say something weird,
and that's the thing is you have people like Nick Saban, which will he's unhappy with a 50-point win.
Yeah,
he's the exact same way over and Alabama doesn't really have 3-point wins very much, but they
didn't cover today.
Yeah, congratulations A&M. You only lost by 22. Really great performance, but they want these guys to not necessarily be human for a second, but they just want them. They want to see these coaches or these players as pissed off and upset as they are. When in reality, I think that they're not happy with how they played. They know that all 11 starters on defense know that they absolutely got the ball ran down their throat tonight, but they're happy they won. It's better than the alternative of what we saw in Stillwater today.
Here's the thing, Eddie, and people don't realize this. Like, that stuff happens. It just happens behind the scenes. And that's a tone that Bob set from the beginning.
Right.
That still exists because you know why?
I'd love for JD to be here and to ask him about what it's like in a locker room. Like, you have to put on not necessarily a front, but...
We need JD to tell the story about what happened when Larry Burdine said that he wasn't impressed with USC before they played in the Orange Bowl.
Was it a not a pretty sight?
The story that I heard was that Bob comes in the locker room just all hellfire and brimstone after reading, I guess the next day, what Larry Burdine had said, and just got into his face, and he said, "Why are you even saying this? You're not even a starter. Like, you're not even good enough to start. And you're talking about another team like this." Like, and it scared the shit out of everyone. I think that stuff still happens. And with Mike Stoops, it still happens. But it's not a good look for that to happen in front of a microphone.
Yeah. Well, and,
and it's not a good look for recruiting. Recruits don't need to know what real life is like until they... Lincoln doesn't want recruits knowing what real life is. They don't want mom and dad knowing that when their son gets there, they might be berated, among their teammates.
In a way, though, I think it's almost a worse look to come into the postgame press conference after your defense gave up 379 yards and 339 of that on the ground with a visor upside down and backwards.
Yeah, that's not. That wasn't good.
Like, you're
not helping yourself by any means to a fan base that already wants your balls.
Yeah, that wasn't good. My God, this podcast is going to be up on Thursday.
You kind of knew it, right? it's not a drunken pod, but it was sort of like,
there.
we got to do this after that.
I mean, I walked out of the stadium feeling like they lost tonight, and I think that's the exact same way that the 85,000 or whatever that were there felt.
I don't know. I just.
Which is funny because you contrast that. That is one of the loudest I've ever heard that stadium.
Yeah.
And
Everybody stayed.
I mean,
The students stayed.
Kenneth Mann talked about that's the loudest he's ever heard it in his 4 years.
That's the most surprising part is that the students stayed.
So, but you're right. It felt like a loss, but when the crowd in the last possessions of the fourth quarter and overtime, that was as loud as I've heard it in a long time.
I think there's something that we need to get to that is just crying for
down.
That's crying for our analysis after this game.
Whose stock is up and whose stock is down? It's time for the AMC Mortgage Stock Report. If you're on the move, check in with AMC Mortgage for all your home loan needs.
All right, yep, that's right. It is time for the most popular segment on the postgame show, the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Show, and that is the AMC Stock Report. Want to remind you guys, the AMC Mortgage Stock Report brought to you by Kyle McCord, a longtime friend of mine. He has been in the mortgage business, he and his family, for over 16 years. And call Kyle McCord with the AMC Mortgage, 405-623-3802. He and his team have been originating loans in Oklahoma together for over 16 years. In addition to standard conventional FHA, VA, and jumbo financing, they also specialize in first-time home buyers and loans requiring down payment assistance. So Kyle's a lifelong fan, season ticket holder, an alumnus of OU. And Kyle McCord with AMC Mortgage, NMLS number 1256166, an equal housing opportunity lender. And give him a call, 405-623-3802. You couldn't be in better hands if you're looking for a mortgage. So it is time for our stock report. I think it's going to be hard, maybe the hardest week ever to find stock ups.
Oh, Carson Meyer.
Except for Carson Meyer. But, I mean, stock has to be up for Curtis Bolton. After all the shit we've given him for the missed tackles against Iowa State, and again, I'll look again, but I don't have a Pro Football Focus report out yet with missed tackles. But 23 tackles tonight for Curtis Bolton. I didn't really see anything glaring. I think stock's up for Curtis Bolton.
Stock's up if he can survive it. He's been so injury prone. You wonder what a game like this is going to mean for him going down the road here.
The entire defense.
Oh, just done.
Stock down on all of them. And it's a little unfair because they're not going to see that offense again, but that performance tonight was absolutely atrocious. To give up that many yards, that many consecutive drives and plays against an Army defense that at times has not been good this year. Like, they have not been good. Duke shut them out. Duke's a basketball program. I don't know. I don't know how we can sit here and say that anybody on the defense has stock up when they got the ball ran down their throats tonight.
All right.
I mean, am I crazy?
No, I mean, we talk about stock down. I think Ryan Jones was the number one guy that came to mind.
I agree with that.
He just did not set the edge. He got sucked in way too many times.
Is that what Lincoln's talking about when he's talking about, they're young, they have problems?
Yes.
They are what they are.
They are what they are. They're young, and they're going to make mistakes. And I know, it's weird. So
then if you're going to take that word for it, then we shouldn't expect this team to compete for a Big 12 championship. And forget about a playoff if they're going to play that kind of defense. I don't know how we can sit here and say that they played well defensively or that we can cut them a break when they literally got the ball ran down their throat for 4 hours tonight, or 3 hours, whatever it was.
It was just weird the way he said, "This is where I thought we would be after 4 games." That was a weird quote.
I mean,
by Lincoln.
Army lived in 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 all night.
Yeah.
And I think Jason Kersey told me up in the
problem was
press
even
box.
when they didn't live in 3rd and 1, when they were 3rd and 8, they still found ways to convert it. And Lincoln said that. Like, that was the most disappointing thing.
The 3rd and 12 on the east side of the stadium where the quarterback just threw the ball in the air. And
Yes.
it seemed like Mark Jackson and Khalil Hofton just watched the ball.
They were there. They weren't going to make a play on it.
I don't know. I mean, sure, there's gonna be better games out there. They won the game. They survived, basically. But
they did enough to win.
But at the same time, I mean, you can't walk out of there and feel good about what they put out there. I mean, yeah, they're gonna kick Baylor's ass next weekend. I think
that's pretty good today.
It's gonna happen. They played Kansas. They're gonna kick Baylor's ass, but October 6th.
You also said that you laughed at the Iowa State people last year.
I did.
Well, if this defense is so bad, I don't think anybody is a pushover.
Baylor is.
I'm going to take a second look when I get home, but Army was 13 of 21 on 3rd and 4 or 5 on 4th. I'm going to see which were 3rd and 3 and shorter and which were beyond that, and just see how much they really did live on 3rd and short and being able to dictate what they want to do.
I can tell you right now, it was 85% of the drives. Or 80 from the 3 drives that they scored on. Yeah. I don't know. It bugs me in a way that there is no win. And we knew that going into the season. There was going to be no win for Mike Stoops. But I don't know. It was very disappointing to see them just get the ball ran down the throat tonight. I felt like they, at times, were getting beat up by a lesser opponent. Is that, I mean, at the end of the day, is it okay to say that?
Absolutely.
I think the thing that surprised me tonight more than anything, not surprised me, the thing I expected, is in the run game, I don't know that you can really just shit on the defensive line. They weren't embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
There were no fullback, there wasn't a real problem with the fullback dive stuff or the belly stuff.
Was there, though? I mean, they were averaging 3 yards a carry for the fullback. The fullback.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what he does. He runs for 3 yards on first down. You got to find other ways to slow him down. I mean,
21 for 71.
I think that's where the fans are pissed off because they feel like at Oklahoma, a fullback at Army shouldn't be getting 3 yards a carry.
Well, he did. How many people run a fullback 21 times in a game? There's a reason they do that. It's because he sets the stage.
Then why doesn't
for
Army
everything.
win the national championship every year if this defense or if this offense is so easy to stop?
It's not that it's easy to stop. It's just that it makes everything a pain in the ass. Look at their games. They don't get blown out. This is just what Army does. This is how they win. They have to do. They're a service academy.
They got blown out versus Duke.
Was it 28-7?
34-14.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
not
blowout.
they weren't in it. They were not in that
because
game.
they turned it over early, and Duke played really well.
So Sooners have to find
Duke is actually a
difference
decent
makers.
team. They beat Northwestern, right?
They beat Baylor.
Northwestern got beat by
Akron.
Fordham last week or something for the
Akron.
first time since
it was-
1894.
No, I remember who it was. It was Akron.
Well,
I just
that's
said that.
embarrassing.
Akron played Iowa State tough today.
Well, then Akron, are they going to the college football playoff?
Duke did beat Baylor, so we'll see if that
Yeah.
means anything.
I mean, beating Baylor's, they're playing pretty well. Charlie Brewer's a good quarterback.
Baylor's not going to make a bowl game.
That's your JoJo bias.
Baylor's a bad football team.
They're 3-1. Are they not?
Baylor's a bad
They're
football team.
3-1. Do we have another stock up? Is there anyone
Yeah.
that you feel?
Trey Sermon.
All right.
I think stock is up. He finally led the team in rushing today.
He looked good in the second half until getting stopped at the goal line. That's why I was
I'm
a
still-
little hesitant.
I'm still baffled that he's the only guy running the ball. Like, this is what they're doing now? They're just going with one running
It's
back?
clear something was up with Marcellus Sutton. He wasn't there returning kicks. They had TJ Pledger in
Well, I
whenever
looked
they
down.
did.
He was sitting on the bench while the other running backs were over huddled talking
Right.
about things.
I think
I think they made a
it's
conscious
possible-
decision to hold him out
Yeah,
tonight.
it's possible
Yeah.
they told him on Thursday, hey, you can't go.
Yeah. Which offensively, like I'm not upset about how they played offensively. When you have 40 plays and you're literally not on the field at all, at points and quarters. It's like, it's hard to do. I mean, if you really want to nitpick the 3rd and 4th down at the goal line, that's rough. I mean, you should be able to pick up a yard against Army.
See, Eddie, you're getting upset about things, but I'm just like, here's my thought process. OU's undefeated. They're 5th in the country.
Maybe.
I'm not sure they're that good. After Iowa State, after today.
Yeah. That's completely fair. That's completely fair. It's completely fair. And I think that's a truth that a lot of people don't want to admit.
Here's the thing, like, we're going to find out a lot in 2 weeks because Texas is starting to get good.
They're starting to play better. They're starting to play better. And
they'll be 4-1.
I think they can easily beat Oklahoma with what I've seen so far.
Oh, are you kidding me? They ran out the clock today against TCU. They'll run the ball straight down Oklahoma's throat if they don't figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is that I think that they played not so well, but they kicked the shit out of Florida Atlantic. They beat up on UCLA or whatever.
They got the breaks with those freshman quarterbacks.
And at the same time, I think that people had this idea that they were just going to reload in a way and that Baker Mayfield wasn't going to be missed, that Obo Okoronkwo wasn't going to be missed.
Well, offensively is not the problem like we've been talking about. I mean, Obo, I think the defense overall is stronger. I'm just not sure that it's better. Or
is that
I think
youth?
it's more.
Is it youth?
No, here's the thing. The defense is more stable than it was a year ago. I'm just not sure it's a great defense. Like they're more solid, they're more dependable. They're not busting coverages as much. But it's like if everybody's in the right place at the right time and they can't make a tackle,
much. Yeah.
What does it really mean? Yeah.
Right.
Well, whose fault is that?
You're being a message board poster right now.
But whose fault is it?
That's nobody's fault. I don't look at it that way. It's just the way that it is. I don't place blame. It's just like that's just what it is, Eddie. They're just I don't know. I guess I'm like Buddha now or something. I'm not looking like I don't understand that. Like whose fault is that? It's just the way it is.
What can change it?
So basically,
getting better players. I mean,
basically,
definitely.
what you're saying is, you should take their expectations.
Do I think that there's some magical coach out there that can make this defense better than it is?
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that because we saw the shit that happened with Venables and getting run out of town, and then all of a sudden he can coach again when he gets to Clemson.
Yeah, he's got really good players at Clemson.
It helps.
Now, look, if you want to make the argument that Mike is not a good recruiter and that's why he needs to go, I can get on board with that.
But at the same time, people need to get it through their head. They're not going to fire the guy during the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Or 4 games into the season. They're not. I mean, this idea that everything that happens throughout the Oklahoma's football season, and especially on the defensive side of the ball, is Mike Stoops' fault, which I'm kind of falling into. You got to get over it. It's not going to happen.
Well, they've got to get better. I mean, they have to be better than what they are now. Now, is there hope that if with a healthy Gallimore and a healthy Fa'amatu and, I don't know how much better Bledsoe's going to get. I mean, he does nice things.
I thought he played pretty well in the first half.
Mark Jackson, to me, is the best example of a guy who's just gotten better.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a superstar, but you can count on him as much as anybody on that defense. When he gets his hands on somebody,
they're coming down.
Yeah. Like, he's dependable. I don't know how many dependable people you have. Like, I think Kenneth Murray, he's not always dependable. Curtis Bolton's not always dependable. Khalil Houghton, no. Doesn't fit that category. Buki, no. Like, Parnell Motley, no.
Yeah, outside of Mann and Jackson, I'm not sure who else you'd put in that category.
I mean, I still think when Ronnie Perkins comes in the game, I perk up and I'm like, oh, this guy makes plays.
Yeah.
And he does stuff.
Has Buki been disappointing? I mean, is it okay to say that?
He's been a disappointing tackler, and there haven't been any turnovers. Parnell Motley's still the only guy getting turnovers, and everybody wants to get rid of him.
That's the crutch. I think if you want to take anything, if you really want to get down to the bottom of it, sure, they got the ball ran down the throat, whatever. you got to be able to force turnovers at some point. And I guess you have to have a little bit of help when a team is running the ball like that. But at the same time, when was the last time you saw a defensive back just rip the ball out of somebody's hands? And I'm not saying it happens all over the country every Saturday.
Motley tried to do it today because he ran like 80 yards.
Yeah, after the guy gets held up.
Yeah.
After the guy gets held up for 5 seconds, but
That was bad.
it just
It's just like, stop it.
I don't know. I guess I'm trying to find answers for everybody out there, but it's not as easy as it seems. They're just maybe you're right, Carey. Maybe they're just not a very good I don't want to say very good football team, but
Right now they're not a great football team. They're not a college football playoff team.
They're not
right
in
now.
Alabama,
and I don't think Ohio State is either. By the way,
I think Penn State's gonna kick the shit out of them next week.
Oh, that'll be a good game.
Should be a really good game.
Has OU forced a fumble in 4 games?
Shit,
They haven't recovered one.
the better question might be, when was the last time they forced a fumble in a game?
No, and the Rose Bowl. Yeah, with Parker's touchdown.
Right.
But
We have Pro Football Focus stats.
but I'm blanking. I know they haven't recovered one yet this season.
Do you want to guess missed tackles tonight?
I'd say less than 10.
I was gonna say 7.
Eddie nailed it. 7.
Yep.
Highest
soothsayer.
highest defensive grade tonight, Kenneth Murray. Although it was just 74.4.
And it's just they didn't drive people. They just went along for the ride. How
Parnell
many times
Motley,
did you see
70
that?
and a half, second. Kenneth Mann, third. Mark Jackson, 4. Curtis Bolton, 5. So no weird... Who was it that was in there last week?
Khalil. He was in the top 3 or 4. People did not like that.
Khalil Houghton this week is 12th. 12th. Buki is 13th.
He got to learn how to tackle.
Listen,
His tackling tonight, Trey Norwood led the way with the worst tackling, 21.7.
We knew
Amani Bledsoe behind him at 29.5. That's a little. Most snaps tonight, let's see. I mean, this is ridiculous. Kenneth Murray, 86 snaps. Motley, 87.
Kenneth Murray played 86 of and the one that he had to come out
He
for.
had to come out.
Yeah.
I thought once
Mark
Army called
Jackson
timeout.
played all 87 snaps. Curtis Bolton, all 87 snaps. Trey Norwood, all 87 snaps. Ryan Jones played every snap tonight.
Justin Broyles played 0,
Buki,
probably.
Khalil Houghton. Broyles isn't even on here.
He didn't play because Ryan Jones played every single snap.
I mean, you're not going to throw a nickel out there very much either against a team that's running the ball down your throat.
But maybe just someone to try to set the edge better. You could just see Jones was struggling so much.
Actually, there is some good news for Buki tonight. He led the team in PFF tackling grades, 81.3. Which, now that I think about it, he did throw his body around.
What is a good grade? Do you want to get a guy in the 90s?
If you're in the 90s,
a really good game.
That's like all American.
Okay.
Yeah.
80s is good. 70s is like you see here how it's dark green and then it gets into light green and then goes into yellow and then red is red alert. That's terrible. Bledsoe and Trey Norwood are both red.
But that's what I'm talking about. All those
tackling.
guys that played 87 snaps. How are they not going to feel it tomorrow and heading into the first part of next week?
Yeah, 87
Well,
snaps.
I mean, they're going to, but that's what they signed up for. They're here to play college football.
And that's what Lincoln said. No one's going to feel sorry for him.
Kenneth Murray was actually second in rush defense PFF grade.
If you don't like it, get off the field more. And that's just the brutal truth. I don't know. It feels like they lost, but they won. So I guess there's not just incredibly too much to be just pissed off about. But at the same time, it wasn't good. I mean, everybody's on the board saying that we're going to sit here and stick up for Mike Stoops and everything, but it wasn't good. I mean, you didn't have to pay $50 or whatever the pay-per-view was to know that.
It was 40 in Cox, which I was
not bad.
Surprised.
It varied from cable system.
Yeah.
DirecTV, Sling, all of that other
By the way,
crap.
if you're curious, Kyler Murray, the highest offensive grade, 90.9. Cody Ford, second, 90.3. Both in the 90s.
It's going to have to get better, boys. Going to have to get better.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for this post-game pod. I have a lot of F-bombs to get out of here.
I'm sorry.
You were bad tonight. I'm not real happy with you.
He had to do a 3-hour show at noon. Man's on fumes right now.
Quit your job. That job sucks.
I'm sorry.
3 hours show for that crap tonight.
People curse. It's 2018.
Games are pay-per-view, and it's 2018, which was a hard fact for a lot of people to believe
I'm
tonight.
glad it's over. I'm glad the whole
They
week
can
is
get it
over.
It was a weird week.
The pay-per-view
It's
is
been a weird
over. The
week.
game is
It's been
over.
a weird week.
Let's move on and play some real ridiculous offenses.
Get ready.
4-hour
Then
games.
we can know where this team is.
Let's have some 4-hour games.
I mean, we knew that we weren't going to learn a whole lot, but at the same time, I think we did learn a little bit about this team.
I didn't learn jack shit tonight. I wanted to see the secondary get better. I didn't get to see any of that.
Yeah.
I learned that Kenneth Murray and Curtis Bolton can tackle guys if they're funneled right to them. I learned that Ryan Jones is young and makes a lot of mistakes. I learned that Mark Jackson is solid. I learned the defensive line is kind of what they've been, which is good, but not great. Yeah.
So that's not going to be a difference in winning a national title. And I think that's what people want to know.
I actually thought Kyler impressed me the most with his calm demeanor in the fourth
Yeah,
quarter.
but nobody gives a shit about the offense, Bob.
Okay, sorry.
They don't. I mean, I don't think any OU fan.
But now
it's like it just gets ignored. It's like who cares?
Now you
the
should
offense is
know.
great. It's Lincoln's. It's Lincoln's
you
thing.
should feel confident if Kyler needs to win a game in the fourth quarter, he can do it.
Yeah, but didn't we see that last week? I mean, I'm not worried about
No,
Murray.
because
I mean, all anybody-
they were never in a dangerous spot.
It's like a Rose Bowl syndrome. It's like,
I don't know if it's a Rose Bowl syndrome. I think it's just a syndrome that has been here for the last 4 or 5 years. Like, I don't trust Oklahoma to get a stop defensively if the game
no,
counts.
but I'm saying that whole, the hatred of the defense comes from the Rose Bowl. I mean,
Yeah.
I was getting tweets tonight.
This is why they lost number 8.
Yeah, it's
Stop
like,
it. Get
Mike
over it.
Stoops is the reason that
Get
we didn't win
over
it
it.
last year.
Get
He
over
needs
it.
to
It's
be
a new
fired
season.
now.
But we all agree Army would have went for 2-1, right?
Jeff Monken said after the game that they would have.
And they would have converted.
Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. It just, I don't know. It's hard to think.
It's hard to say that after OU's defense came up with 2 plays at the end, though, when they mattered most.
In a way, yeah, but it's hard to erase the other 84 plays that they played tonight out of the 87.
Sure.
I don't know.
Everybody, you can go to bed. I'm gonna edit this.
We can sit here and
Eddie, you've done enough.
I'm sorry.
You've done enough for the human race in one day.
I'm gonna wake up tomorrow though. Tiger has a 3-shot lead. If he
What time does
loses
he tee
tomorrow,
off?
1:00. If he loses,
You can go home and drink some beer, and then
if he loses
pass out.
tomorrow, I'll probably jump off the Devon Tower.
And the Cubs are that much closer.
If the Cubs magic number 6, if they don't win the
Magic
division, I'll
6.
probably. I might not make it to OU Texas boys. No, I'll be there.
you've got a lot. He's got a lot of golf life left to live after this year. You'll be fine.
That's true. That's true.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. It's the Eskridge for being with us here on the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast. Don't forget, EskridgeLexus.com. Ed and the boys will take care of you just like they're taking care of us, the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcast. So thanks a lot. We'll see you guys back later on this week with the unofficial 40. But don't forget, review, like, subscribe, all that stuff to the Eskridge Lexus, not unofficial, the postgame podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. We are trying to get on Spotify because a lot of people ask that. So know that that's going on.
Hey, Spotify, put the biggest podcast in the state up. Come on.
All right. I'm sure they'll listen to that, and it'll make an immediate impact. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week after Baylor, right back here on the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast.